everyone, and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis, which is presented to you by Losico. So, today we will be discussing two articles. Both are from the Indian Express. The first article is Who Wants Federalism? So, basically, the very idea of federalism and what are the basic tenets or prerequisites of having a successful federalism have been discussed in this article, and we will discuss as to whether or not Indian federalism is able to cope up with it. And the second article is titled as The Smart Anganwadi. So basically, it has discussed the important role that the Anganwadi workers and the very institute of Anganwadi plays in providing early childhood care and education to the children in our country. And thirdly, we have the news and flash column wherein we'll be discussing the small and crisp news points. So if you're also preparing for judicial services examination, you can definitely have a look at the lot of the courses, which is Law Seekho's Judiciary Test Prep course. The link to this course is there in the description box below. You can definitely have a look at it. From there, you can also download free study material for your own preparation. Also, we are excelling into various other courses like for CLAT, All India Bar Exam, etc. You can have a look at them too. With this, let's see that what is the multiple choice question from yesterday's discussion. The Nepali name for Mount Everest is first Sagarmat or Sagarmatha, second Kuamolangma, third Kanchenjunga, or fourth Annapurna. So you can write down your answer in the comment section below. This is the descriptive question for the day. What are the challenges and problems that the Indian federalism faces today? What are the consequences of these problems? Discuss. With this, let's start a discussion for the first article, which talks about Indian federalism. So there is a growing perception that India's federal structure is under threat and slowly vanishing. So basically, since time and every now and then, recently, many incidences have been continuously happening that have actually put the very system of federalism of India into question. Like for example, recently there was a question of the GST compensation for which the states had been bargaining with the center, but the center was not really ready to come to a conclusion. But finally, there was some solution brought to it, but the states are still not very much satisfied with the very issue. Then there has been a problem of the very question if we talk about the farm bills as well. So in that also the states have said that there was no consent taken by the state governments, and they claim that the agriculture upon which the bills have been framed, so these also are a state subject. So every now and then we are seeing some kind of tussle and the war for power going on between the states and the center. With this, what is important for us is to understand that what are the factors which are actually essential for sustaining a successful federalism. So firstly, accommodating India's linguistic and cultural diversity. So if we keep India's system into mind and the kind of diversity that we are blessed and we live in, it is very much important that the center and states, they live in harmony, and we recognize the culture and the rich heritage and culture of India's linguistic and cultural diversity. So let's see if or not we have been able to achieve this very essence of federalism in the Indian context or not. So we have the States Reorganization Act, and compromises on the issue of languages is a victory of federalism. Now, as we know that many a times various state organization acts have been brought into the picture. Like for example, when Telangana was separated, so that was the very reason was mostly due to the language or the linguistic basis, and that is why we have been giving this importance and the very essence to the linguistic and cultural diversity of the country, and we have respected it so far. So yes, on that ground it can be said that India or the Indian federalism has been very much flexible and accommodative as well. But on the very same side, we should keep in mind that we should not promote it to such a level that every linguistic minority or every linguistic group asks for a different state or a completely different autonomous area. So that is why we should have it into a complete balance. Then the second one is actual distribution of political power. So let's see that have we been able to distribute the political power in a very equitable manner or not. So recently, the rise of coalition government, economic liberalization, regional parties form the base of political federalism. So yes, to some extent, like coalition governments have shown that the parties or the governments have the will to come together and then govern the entire area. Then we have the economic liberalization. So these have also helped a lot in the distribution of political powers and rights regarding this area. And then the regional parties also have brought forward the contentions of the people from the lower or the regional areas of the country altogether. But then again, there has to be a point that needs to be seen, that the distribution of political power should also be equitable. But very recently, many a times, as we will see also, that single party rules have actually tried to destroy this very essence of federalism. Thirdly, we have the political and institutional culture. So this needs to be seen very critically, because both BJP and Congress follow flexible federalism. But recently, increasing presidentialization of national politics, single party dominance, change in the forms of communication, they might diminish the stature of what we know as of the CMs. So basically, as we know, that the CMs almost play an equivalent role just as the PM plays for the entire country, that is the Prime Minister. But we need to keep in mind that we have diversity in our political, parties as well, because many a times when the parties in the center, or the party and the party that govern most of the states are the same party, that is in the current scenario if we see BJP. So in that situation, it becomes very difficult many a times for the chief ministers or the other leaders to take forward their contentions, because many a times they're bound by the party which they are following on a common basis. And that is why it is very much important that we try to give the equal political distribution and institutional culture in the entire fabric of the nation. So basically, there is a point of asymmetrical federalism, wherein special exemptions are given to the various states like JNK and Northeast region. So, but that also is due to the requirement, the basic requirement, as we know that till last year as well, Jammu and Kashmir was also given the special status under Article 370 and 35A. So, keeping that in mind, this is something that is the need that needs to be done. Like Northeastern states are also given special status, so that is why it is just a kind of reasonable classification, and that is ultimately in favor of a successful federalism for a country like India. With this, let's discuss the second article for the day, which talks about necessity of public welfare services, that is the Anganwadi. So the economic fallout of COVID-19 has made the necessity of providing public welfare services more important. And one of those is the most important one is the ICDS, which is Integrated Child Development Scheme. Now, one thing that we need to understand here is that when we have a small child, okay, so it's not that only after that child takes admission in a particular school is that his development or his mental growth starts. Rather, the growth and the knowledge bearing, or the mental and physical development of the child starts from the very preliminary and primary stage. In this, the parents play a very important role, and that is why early childhood care is of utmost importance. It has been seen that the students who had been given, or the children who had received good early childhood care, have been performing better in their later stages of school life as well, because this actually tells us the basic mannerism, also tells us simple reading, physical activities, and similar stuff that is actually very helpful in attaining the knowledge when we once reach the school. So that is why we have this scheme in India, which is called as the Integrated Child Development Scheme. So basically, this scheme tries to give, early education to the children, good levels of nutrition to the children, and it is not only limited to the children, but also women and mothers of these children who also should be given good nutritional levels, so that they can also be an asset to the entire society. Now, under the ICDS system, we have another important institution in India that we call as the Anganwadi. So you must have every now and then heard that somebody is an Anganwadi worker, or they are sending their children to the Anganwadi. So basically, Anganwadi is nothing but just a small institution, a kind of primary school for the children, wherein they are given the early childhood care in terms of education, nutrition, etc. Also, Anganwadis play a very important role in also socializing the children with one another and with the teachers and other individuals of the society. But lately, it has been seen that the role which was stipulated to Anganwadi was very important one. But on the contrary, the Anganwadis, due to their poor institutional, or due to their poor infrastructure and lack of resources, have not been able to deliver aptly these very goals and objectives which were assigned to the Anganwadis. So here is some data that is related regarding the ICDS and Anganwadi. So the program caters to the nutrition, health, and pre-education needs of children till the age of 6 years. Now this needs to be kept in mind that this is till the age of 6 years, because as we know that from the age of 6 to 14, it is now the right to education, which is a fundamental right of the children to get education in proper schools. So after 6 years, they will be given formal education, and till the age of 6 years, it will be the duty of ICDS and Anganwadis to provide them or cater to them nutrition, health, and pre-education needs. And to women as well as adolescent girls, because in India, many women and adolescent girls also suffer from malnutrition, lack of education, and also anemia as well. So that is why Anganwadis and ICDS have been playing very important role in dealing with this problem. Now, as we just discussed, that the Anganwadi centers are very important agents for achieving this very goal, which is set up by the ICDS. Now, India has 13.77 lakh Anganwadi centers, which is actually a very huge number. But the reason why we are not able to achieve these goals very efficiently is that out of these 13.77 lakh, or approximately 14 lakh Anganwadi centers, only a few have the proper resources and setup which are required for the ultimate benefit of these children and adolescent girls and women. Others are just standing buildings without any kind of resources or logistics available. Now, the next point just says that the Anganwadi centers lack the adequate facilities. 1/4 of the Anganwadi centers lack even drinking water. So you can imagine that what a bizarre situation is currently existing in this scenario. And 36% do not have toilets. Now, one thing that we need to know is that it is the priority of the government that mostly females are appointed as the Anganwadi workers in the Anganwadi centers. Now, in such a scenario, just imagine a situation that one woman has to go for her job in the Anganwadi, and that particular Anganwadi center does not even have a toilet, which is the basic minimum requirement of sanitation and hygiene. So, can you imagine that will she be incentivized or disincentivized to go and work over there? Obviously, it will bar her from performing well and even going and attending the work over there in the Anganwadi centers. Then, Niti Ayog's recommendation says that better sanitation, drinking water, improved power, and basic medicines should be available in each and every Anganwadi center, so that it is made possible for the Anganwadi workers to go there and work efficiently without worrying about even the basic logistics. Now, here are some steps which are needed in this direction. Improvement in quality of meals, so effective supplementary nutrition, because as we know that Anganwadis and the ICDS ultimately play a very important role in fighting the malnutrition or just providing the nutrition to the children and young women and adolescent girls. So in such a scenario, it is important that the diet that is given or the meals that are served have all the nutrients that are necessary for the growth of children and women, and that is why a balanced diet is made sure to be given to them. Secondly, provide facilities such as crèche, good quality recreational and learning facilities. Like, for example, crèche is important for both, even the workers, because many times it is possible that the Anganwadi worker herself has a very young child to be taken along with, and even for the young children as well, because for them maybe they need to take sleep or they need to be given food or fed with milk or something like that. So for them the crèche is very important, and good quality recreational and learning activities, like there can be some toys, there can be some swings and other kinds of activities in which the children can engage themselves. Thirdly, improve the career prospects and service conditions of the Anganwadi workers, ASHA, and ANMs. So basically, for the ICDS thing, there are three people who are working, who play a very important role. Firstly, we all know the Anganwadi workers. Second are the ASHA workers and the ANMs. So basically, ASHA workers are the accredited social health activists. So mostly these are the women who have, at least studied till the 8th standard and have some basic knowledge of providing some kinds of medical help to the people. In South India, in various states like Karnataka and Telangana, ASHA workers have been playing a very amazing role in providing basic health facilities to the people in the villages. Very recently, a woman who was an ASHA worker, and also she knew how to ride an auto rickshaw, she carried a woman who was pregnant and helped her get her delivery done by the hospital. So this is a very important role which the ASHA workers are playing, and mostly the ASHA workers are also primarily women. So this actually plays a two-way benefit. Firstly, ASHA workers, this scheme provides employment to the women in the villages or rural areas. And secondly, it also promises basic health facilities to be given to the residents of that area. And then we have ANMs. So ANMs and ASHA workers are almost same, but ANMs are more focused towards the medical health. So these are the ANMs stand for auxiliary nurse midwiferys or midwives. So basically, these are trained nurses that are very much equipped in providing the first aid and basic help in case of a medical emergency. So these all should be, the number of these workers should be increased firstly, and second, good returns should be given these workers so that they get incentivized to participate into this job, and also they work there without any kind of hesitation and with utmost dedication. Fourthly, improve service delivery. So Anganwadi workers have been provided with smartphones and tablets with which they can actually connect with the people very easily. They can also keep a check as to what kind of nutrition and what cereals and food grains are provided to the people. So the delivery system has been made more efficient, and it can be made further more efficient by teaching them technological basics and other computational habits. Fifthly, improve Anganwadi centers. So there is a scheme which is a central government scheme called as Saksham scheme, which aims to upgrade 2.5 lakh centers. So these all facilities should be made and upgraded in all Anganwadi centers. Then we should have infrastructure development, states coordination is required, and we should cater the needs of the communities as well. With this, let's see what do we have for news in flash today. Lakshadweep to get optical fiber cable, as very recently, just a few months ago, Andaman and Nicobar Islands had started the connectivity with optical fiber network for better broadband and Wi-Fi services in the area. So now Lakshadweep will also be given the similar activities. So the cabinet has approved the provisions to provide submarine optical cable connectivity. Now, obviously, because we know that the only way we are connected to Lakshadweep and also the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is the waterway. So Lakshadweep has the Arabian Sea on this side, on the western side of India. So obviously the connectivity will be through underwater optical fiber or submarine optical fiber connectivity. So it has also approved the Universal Service Obligation Fund scheme to provide mobile coverage in Arunachal Pradesh. Second, Indus Valley Diet had meat. So as per a recent study by Akshay Suryanarayan, which was published in the Journal of Archaeological Science, basically these names are not important for you to learn. The diet of the people of Indus Valley civilization had a dominance of meat, including extensive eating of beef as well. So how have we come to know about it? It's through the lipid residues were found from the pottery of the Indus Valley civilization excavations. Thirdly, software to fight child pornography. So basically, the cyber wing of Maharashtra Police, please mind this is police, has acquired a software called as Crawler from Interpol. So it is brought in from the international police to track child pornography. So a 12 police officer team were trained from South Asia Wing and Interpol. So basically so if it can also come that Crawler was seen in news. So what basically is it? So it is a software to fight child pornography. And next, People's Parliament. So the 75th year of India's independence, which will be celebrated in 2022, it will be a milestone in the country's democratic governance. And that is why, to mark this occasion, a People's Parliament is being actually built for the first time. So this will be the this is the proposed structure of the People's Parliament. Basically, it will be more like a kind of museum for all the people wherein they can visit and understand about the historic developments of the Indian democracy. So this was all for today. We hope it was a good and informative session for you all. Thank you so much for staying tuned with Law Seekho.